Welcome into the Mecca podcast. We have a bit of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to let you, in the future, JC, I'm going to let you jump off and lead us in. So how about you go?
Yep. First off, we got some breaking NFL news regarding the Giants. I mean, of course, we bounce around all the different sports and whatnot, and we have a whole bunch of college stuff that we're going to get into. But I think the most important and the most, I want to say, I guess the biggest news of the day is regarding your New York Giants and the quarterback position. Spencer, what are your thoughts on McAdoo benching Eli Manning and rolling with ex-Jet Geno Smith? Let me hear
It's amazing, that we're in the forefront of the news,
it.
Usually, I don't know, it's Cleveland or it's just rare to see my team kind of in that situation. And, before I really get into it, we have Matt Shanko, Vol Roadshow. We're not even done. We're just getting started this week. It's probably one of our busiest weeks of the year, and that's a blessing to the sports that we cover. But, about the New York Giants, man, I got the news.
Mm-hmm.
I was following the Mike Gundy Tennessee thing all day, so when I got the news, I was kind of tired already. Like my phone, I was just it's one of those days, JC, where you're in your phone all day with college football stuff.
Right.
So literally, I'm checking Twitter, I'm refreshing every couple of minutes. So it's one of those days, where it's fun, but it's exhausting. But then with the Giants quarterback situation, it's very, very disappointing that it kind of hit you out of nowhere. You didn't really expect Eli to suddenly be benched. You look at his streak, and it just gets more disappointing as you think about it. I understand Eli's not playing at a high level. It's very difficult sometimes for Giants fans and for me because Eli Manning just has meant so much to my childhood. It's kind of like Chad Pennington with you, that it's a little hard to be objective, but objectively, Eli is not the youngest guy, and at best, he has 2 years left in this league, at best. And I think Eli still, like I saw what Peyton did, I think Eli can win. I can really take a team like Jacksonville or Denver or even the Giants with their defense last year. I think that the guy is still a suitable starter in this league. I do.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that for sure. You broke down Eli, and you broke down, his maybe he'll be with Denver, maybe he'll be with Jacksonville. But what are your thoughts on Geno Smith? They went with Geno. They didn't go with Webb. What are your thoughts on Smith? How can he get the job done in New York?
So Geno Smith, believe it or not, everybody kind of, craps on Geno Smith. And I think Geno Smith, his delivery is slow. He has a lot of concerns. I don't think Geno's the long-term solution pretty much anywhere. I mean, Geno Smith would be a guy that, so we're going around here, the carousel, coaching carousel and the studio carousel. But, I look at Geno Smith, and I think that the guy has a slow release. His feet are slow, but he does have a strong arm. At West Virginia, it seemed like he was a lot faster, Geno Smith. So I don't think he's the answer. Davis Webb's certainly going to be the answer. And JC, I mean, IK Enobale, correct me on that last name. He hit Geno Smith, and his teammates were apathetic at that time too. Geno's definitely not a long-term option. You're an expert on this topic, man. Geno's a fill-in, but I still think Geno is almost too good of a backup. I think Geno could start in emergency situations. He's not EJ Manuel. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I actually got the Geno Smith jersey hanging in my closet right over there. I remember going, I went to the store and I bought it on draft day. The next day we drafted him, I pre-ordered it at the store and everything.
Sure.
But as far as him going to the Giants, I actually put something on Twitter today that, I thought it was going to take a lot of heat. And inside the tweet, I basically said that I think Geno Smith is going to move the ball more effectively this season than Eli Manning. I think Geno Smith is the perfect fit for Ben McAdoo. Shotgun, short passing. What did he excel at in West Virginia? What did he do well at with early with the New York Jets? Short passing, quick, decisive decisions. Basically, he needs coaching and people to tell him, you have to throw the ball there. You have to throw it here. Don't make him think. Don't make him, jump through hoops. He's not Rodgers. He's not, he's not these great quarterbacks that can digest the game. He can't break down a defense that well. We just have to call it like it is. But the thing is with Geno Smith is that I think what he is good at, like you said, he has a strong arm. He plays really well in the short passing game. He's accurate in the short passing game, and he's athletic. He's mobile as heck, and he could run. Like, I mean, I know the media and a lot of fans are like, "Oh, Geno Smith, he throws tons of interceptions," and he does, and he will throw interceptions.
And
With
he'll
the
stare
Giants.
down guys for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the thing that everyone's kind of forgetting is that he's sat 12 or 13 weeks this season under Eli Manning with no pressure. He could have been working on these weaknesses and maybe coming up with different tactics to get better at these things under a new regime in McAdoo and these guys. But I know it must be tough for you because Eli's such a storied. I mean, he's a Manning.
Yeah.
He's done some pretty good things with the New York Giants. He's obviously been your guys' starter forever. And it's kind of weird seeing like Geno Smith, like a guy who hasn't had relatively any success and he's failed with the New York Jets, replace him. But I think from an X's and O's standpoint, like if you were just to say Eli is player A and Geno is player B, and get rid of Manning, get rid of Geno, and the headlines and all this negative stuff. I think if you're just looking at it from an X's and O's schematic standpoint, Geno Smith fits this offense better than Eli. And I think he'll be able to move the ball more effectively than Eli Manning. I mean, I could be crazy, but that's just kind of my thoughts, what I've taken away from McAdoo's system and what I've taken away from watching Geno at West Virginia and with the Jets.
Well, oh yeah, like if I were leading the New York Giants, I think I should appropriately say this. I think like Kubiak and Wade Phillips and the Denver Broncos plan would work though with Eli. Like
I do too.
I still think Eli Manning is going to be. I still think he can go somewhere like a Leonard Fournette in Jacksonville, and I still think that Eli Manning can move the football on teams, take care of the ball. Like Eli Manning, the reason why I don't think Geno will ever get to a starter's level, like if we're just talking about like a random regular season game. Sure, Geno Smith in an aerial raid offense where Eli's unmotivated might be able to outperform Eli for 2 weeks. But there's no way that Geno's consistent enough. I've seen Geno, and he's been apathetic where he's been, JC. Like this guy, like you saw the Baltimore Ravens game. I just have vivid memories to that Jets-Ravens game where he went there, and he doesn't inspire. And Geno also has kind of had a very tough go. Unfortunately, I feel for the guy, actually, with the whole teammate situation, the media. I think if Geno played on, Geno could be Jacoby Brissett very easily, dude. You know what I mean? Like, say Geno played in a small market.
Yes.
Like a Chargers, like a Bengals. He would be, he could be a Tyrod Taylor, but he got drafted by the Jets and he got destroyed and he had horrible coaching and a terrible situation there. It would be inappropriate for me to just look at Geno Smith and just say the name Geno Smith, which is so negative. And I think that Geno Smith, I look at the way that he can throw the football. I think that he can throw it pretty well. But if I were the New York Giants, you got to keep Eli. I mean, Eli Manning, JC, he's a guy that, you could still win at a high level with him. Like with Geno, if you're going to start Geno Smith as your franchise quarterback, Jesus, man, you're going to go south. Like he's not mentally tough enough to step into the New York media and handle that stuff,
Yeah, a place that I could see actually Geno Smith kind of blossoming as a quarterback is back in his hometown of Miami. I know Miami's it's a big market. It's not as big as New York or like the LA Rams or anything like that. But when you look at the Dolphins, I think he could fit with Miami. If they want to get rid of Cutler, get rid of Tannehill.
Yeah,
Tannehill's on the big contract.
For being objective, no one in the media will say this for some reason. But Ryan Tannehill's the most overrated player probably in the NFL.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill, that's a whole – that I could go on for 20 minutes about Tannehill. I've watched a lot of him.
And Geno Smith, I think Geno has upside, especially if he loses weight and can like slide his feet, like if his feet can just get faster, and that release is a little bit of a problem. Like he's a little Tom Savage-esque in a couple of ways though, which is unfortunate. The release is just really long. And I just want to see Geno needs to kind of be in an offense, JC, where it's very opportunistic. Like Geno's always been taught, don't F it up. And he's never shined or thrived really anywhere. And I wish that Geno would be allowed to use his arm strength a little more.
Yeah, I think he needs to go into a situation or an offense that utilizes his strengths and basically just says, screw what you suck at. Like, what are you good at? You can push the ball downfield. You are accurate in short passing. You primarily work better out of the shotgun. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play you in the shotgun. We're going to throw the ball in the short passing game and, work to Geno Smith's strengths. I mean, I never really understand this point of view where it's like the coach tells the or the player, he says, here's the playbook. You learn it. If you don't learn it, we'll both fail. Where, they're in the same boat together. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like if McAdoo, I honestly think McAdoo and Geno for this season, I'm not talking about for like the next 5 years. I'm saying for the rest of this season, I think McAdoo and Geno will have a little bit more success than McAdoo and Eli. As far
I
as
think
just
Geno's a younger guy. He's more set to throw the ball at that rate, but I'm a little worried though about Geno and these short passes. I did watch preseason, and the guy telegraphs this short passing game, and I'm a little afraid there could be some situations where the guy can honestly throw a lot of interceptions that way.
For sure. I mean, Geno is a
I like
turn.
Geno a little more like play action, rolling him out, like still 25 to 30 throws, Like this offense that Ben's running, you have to freaking be incredibly like precise. Like maybe Kirk Cousins can even like do the offense. Drew Brees certainly. Guys like that.
Mhm.
Phillip Rivers. Guys that just completely know the short passing game, the crossing routes, all that. And I just don't know if Geno can even do that.
I just want to say I'm in Geno's corner. I still have a soft spot for him. I just want to say I think people are going to be surprised. I think the media slams this guy. I mean, I know he's had some off the field issues, nothing like being arrested or like, anything with like drugs or anything like that. But he's had his run-ins with the New York media, telling the fan to F off that one day. He obviously getting punched, not paying teammates back. And he's
He needs
had
to be a more positive figure.
he's too much. I think, I think he has a quarterback's physically he's a quarterback, but mentally it seems like he's like a wide receiver, or he just doesn't have the mental capabilities of a quarterback. Not so much as like understanding the game, but just like immature, like knowing your role, knowing your situation, knowing you're the quarterback of a New York team. You can't just tell a fan F off. Everyone's going to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in Cincinnati, like you could get away with it, not taking a shot at them, but I like what you said about being in a smaller market, so.
Because listen, JC, I'm ready to get to the nitty gritty though of the conversation. And I like Geno Smith, like I've barely known Geno Smith, so I'm not going to completely pile on to Geno, but I mean, this Giants organization, what they've put, Eli Manning through, a legend. It's awful. Like, being a Giants fan, I really appreciate the organization because, like our players like, OC and Justin Tuck come home to retire. And you're taking a guy that started for 14 years. And I just think that this is just one of the coldest ways that you can ever say this to him, like basically saying that this is a pitch count, this is a preseason game. So basically they only told Eli, like, you can play a half and retain your streak, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter if you throw 7 touchdowns or 2 picks, you have to leave. And I think that that's completely disrespectful. And I think that the right way to handle it would probably be like going to Eli. Like, first of all, Eli didn't even speak to the owner. So if you're gonna kind of bench Eli at the end of the year, I think it's useless anyway. But if you're going to do it, I just think that you have to go to Eli straight up and just kind of have like a discussion, especially at the beginning of the week, and explain kind of the situation. And it's a very tough situation. I really disagree with the situation because JC, I want to hear what you think. I know Eli has regressed. I'm not a McAdoo fan. I don't see any future in McAdoo. So all the play calling that Davis will be doing in this playbook, I don't think it's going to help. I mean, sure, the game reps will help. I wanted Eli to like pass the torch to Josh Rosen or Davis Webb. I wanted that. I know, and I just got you there at Rosen. I wanted it to be very as seamless as possible so that when Eli knew that he was kind of regressing, that the whole thing would kind of reset. And to tell you the truth, man, like even the Arizona Cardinals, as much as you make fun of them for that, if Eli were Carson Palmer and they swung, and like I wanted the Giants to like have one last hurrah of swinging. Like I wanted to keep the defense together, keep the band together, especially, man, and this is my main point that I'm going to keep harping on, is that the Giants to me are last year's LA Rams.
In what sense?
With the talent and with one coach, it's all mental. And the Rams have guys like Alec Ogletree and everybody quit. Todd Gurley quit. And the team quit on the season, the Giants. And if you put a coach in there that can completely control the situation, you can turn this thing around instantly. That defense is nasty. So I gave you a lot there, and, go ahead and speak on some of those points.
Right. I think, I think the one thing we both agree on, I mean, I'm no Giant fan whatsoever. I mean, I know you saw me smiling because it's almost like, for me, it's like poetic justice. Like finally a storied franchise is running into some issues. Like you never see Pittsburgh go through this. You never see Green Bay go through this. You never see the Giants, So deep down, I'm kind of
excited,
smirking at the idea that the Giants are finally going to have something to worry about,
like Rocky Waters, like we're living in your territory now.
Yeah, or it's almost like, when the little brother hits puberty and gets to beat up the big brother. That's kind of I
don't think so. I think it's the big brother just got put in jail. You didn't graduate college. I graduated college, and now I'm going to jail.
Yeah, so
it's nothing y'all are doing. I mean, if we're going smack talk here,
Hey, Jets are on the uprise. But but this is like, I think we both agree on this point. I think the Giants need to move on from McAdoo. I think it's a must. I don't hate Ben McAdoo as much as you guys, probably because he's not my head coach. But at the same time, I think you got to go with David Shaw out of Stanford. But regardless of who the new head coach you guys bring in is going to be, this is what I think McAdoo is doing right now. I think he's fed up with the Giants fans. I think he's fed up with the media. I think he's just saying to himself, look, I'm the head coach. And you know what? Screw all of you. This is my last ride with the New York Giants because I'm probably going to get fired. So, you know what? If you want to make fun of me, I'm benching Eli Manning because I'm the head coach and I can do what I want. And I have a little bit of credibility if Geno goes out there and has a little bit of success. I think Ben McAdoo is almost being a sore loser in a sense that he's just almost like a pouting child that's just saying, nope, my team, I'm the head coach. If you didn't fire me and I'm still here, I'm just going to do what I want because you guys continue to make fun of me. I'm starting Geno Smith. Screw all of you.
You're spot on. 100%. 100%. And believe it or not, if I was the agent of Ben McAdoo, like how lawyers have to represent attorneys that they know are guilty?
Mm-hmm.
If I were Ben McAdoo's agent, I would be telling him to do the same thing because you're dead on. Like starting Eli Manning, if Eli does okay, you're never – first of all, Eli doesn't like playing for you. I mean, we could just read between the lines, right? But if this Geno does well or Davis – especially if Davis Webb goes out, he can even retain the job. And that's what I was saying. That's like a worst-case scenario, actually, for Giants fans. If the guy throws 5 touchdowns, then you could say that this young quarterback fits my system better than Eli ever did.
Mm-hmm.
like Geno. So you're exactly right. You got to swing now. It's a desperate man. You're totally right on the whole, Ben McAdoo situation. What's funny, man, with the Giants is that, sometimes like you want excitement, honestly, as a fan base, like you want to have all this debate. Like it's great talking about your talking about your team. It's
Yeah.
exciting because this is like the most rapid change that the Giants have had since the Tom Coughlin thing. Especially the last couple of years has been like the most like our sports talk radio is going crazy because we have instability in so many spots right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at Eli Manning, and it's a unique perspective for me because, I grew up with this guy, and I still think Eli can really help. And I still think this defense, though, I think you're sitting on a gold mine still. Like, I still look at the Giants, and I still think that if you reboot and run it back with David Shaw and with Eli, I think that you will have a playoff team and a pretty good team, especially if you just get a running back. I think it's a quick fix, but the Maras don't. And that's the unfortunate thing is they think that they have to reinvent the wheel and they're going to blow it up. And, and you're watching like a foundation of like, for me, it's sad because Olivier Vernon, Janoris, Landon Collins,
Snacks.
Casillas. Snacks. Exactly. JPP.
Mm-hmm.
That was good defense last year, man.
Great defense.
They played legit football. And if they had David Shaw, they would play legit football, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then if you get a running game and you have Eli, like you should just like ride out the next 2 years. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with you. I think one point that people like keep like just assuming is that since McAdoo benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith, it automatically means that Eli Manning is it's like he's hitting the free agent pool tomorrow. It's like everyone's just assuming he's going to Jacksonville or assuming he's going to Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's still a New York Giant. If Ben McAdoo gets canned, this new head coach that comes in could just say, screw Geno Smith. I don't want him. I want Eli Manning, and just go, exactly by the plan that you just said. I don't think Harbaugh would prefer Geno to Eli. I don't think Shaw would prefer it either.
Hey, JC, this is exactly leads into my argument that I wanted to say to you. And that's why I really do. I don't like a logjam of backup quarterbacks that are like almost good enough to actually start.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said in my video earlier that I felt a little bad for Geno Smith because I'm like, dude, like I feel bad that you're living at Eli's place. Like go out and spread your wings and try to start somewhere, man. Like you're almost too good to be a backup. Like it's bad. Like having Davis and Eli now, like or Davis and Geno. It's a whole you now have a whole train of guys that are capable, and that's it's an unhealthy environment for Eli and a quarterback. Like you should just have Eli and the predecessor. I think Geno would be better off just leaving. There's no future for him really for the Giants, JC.
Yeah, when he left the Jets, the team that I really wanted him to go to was the San Francisco 49ers with Chip Kelly. I thought they could really have something there, but then obviously Kelly got fired. They replaced him with Shanahan. I don't necessarily think that Geno is a good fit in that Shanahan system, but I do think that was a place where Geno could step in and start immediately. But he opted to go for the backup route because I remember watching some or seeing his social media posts. I forget if it was on like Twitter or Instagram, but long story short, he was basically saying, I want to go learn behind a legend in Eli Manning. That was his words, like he wanted to embrace this backup role. I think Geno maybe showed a little bit of maturity in that sense, knowing that, hey, I got to tighten up a little bit. I can't be throwing interceptions left and right. Here's a prime opportunity where I'm not going to have any pressure. I can stay in New York, the team, the city that drafted me. And I can just sit and learn. And after 1 or 2 years, I could come out stronger, faster, with most importantly, enough knowledge learned from McAdoo and being around like great players, like you said, with Snacks and Vernon and these guys just really just having no pressure on him. Just sit back, come to work and learn.
Exactly right. And like we look right now at the Blaine train in Arizona, and timing is everything in life. Case Keenum he needed so many things to go right for him to be able to get the opportunity to play in Minnesota. And he fit into a perfect offensive system around a group of guys that he really connected with, around a coaching staff, around a defense. And the situation and the timing just was perfect. Jarrett Stidham going to Auburn from Baylor was perfect in hindsight, you know.
Perfect timing, yeah.
And Jacob Eason on the other side is completely not perfect, or Bryce Petty or Hack, or we can go down the line of guys. The RG3 Kirk thing was a disaster for both guys, you know.
Yep.
That's another example of competition spilling over and then having to crown one of the guys. So, you know, I just look at this quarterback situation for the Giants, and I really think now, Jet Central, and I'm going to let you talk. I actually have to go fix something for 30 seconds, but you'll just carry this question. I think that the New York Giants, I think that they are done with Eli though now. And I think that they're blowing this thing up.
You do think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. I want to hear your answer.
Okay. Yeah, it's crazy, you know, when you think about it, because, you know, Spencer just made fantastic points. Oh, okay, you're back already. Cool. I didn't even get into my thoughts, but, you know, I don't think that the Giants are going to blow this up. I think that they're going to keep everyone. I think everyone is kind of looking at McAdoo from the, like, some of the players, some of the front office members, the fans, the media. I think they're looking at McAdoo like, okay, this is like the guy in the restaurant that has like an outburst and everyone's kind of staring at him, but like not trying to make eye contact, just saying, okay, Ben McAdoo, you're just going to play out your contract, whatever. You're going to do some crazy things that nobody's going to agree with. So we're just going to let you sit there and, you know, do your thing until once the, you know,
I completely understand that. Okay. I thought about that angle today.
Well, let me make this point. There's
a big but, though, that I'm gonna come back to.
Let me finish this real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I just want to.
No, I want to hear this point.
Yeah. So the thing is with McAdoo is if McAdoo is labeled by everybody, fans, players, front office, media, whatever, if McAdoo is labeled as such a bad head coach, right? He's just such a bad head coach. Why, if McAdoo gets fired, why would the front office members of the Giants continue on and like leave McAdoo's kind of like phantom around, like by cutting all the players? Because this is what McAdoo wants, you know, like he doesn't want Eli, obviously, you know. So why would these front office members say, McAdoo, you're basically an idiot, see ya, but once you leave, we're just going to blow the whole thing up anyway? If that makes any sort of sense, does it? Do you follow?
I'm very worried about the ownership. Let me tell you why. I'll tell you why I'm really worried. Did you watch Eli Manning today?
Doing the conference
by his locker, okay?
Yeah, and he was almost.
So let's put two and two together now. Let's dig deep into this. So I agree, like Ben McAdoo's like the desperate guy in the restaurant. I think that's perfect, okay? Desperate girl guy, whatever. Like he's screaming for the hills. He's crazy, right? He's on a rampage. He's going to get fired in 5 weeks. He's a chicken with his head cut off. We all understand that. Eli Manning teared up today. And they asked him straight up, do you think, like the reporters, I give the New York reporters credit, Jets and Giants, they freaking get right to the point. They asked, like, is this going to be your last game? And Eli teared up and said, it was like this. He's like, I don't know. He like was tearing up and he's like, you know, I couldn't go in and I've never been coached like that and treated like that. And then they asked him, did you speak to Mara? He never spoke to Mara. He's on an island right now, the guy. That's scary. That is scary. So so first of all, if you're the owner of the football team and Eli's your confident quarterback, I would totally talk to Eli and tell him to keep himself under control if he's the guy for next year. Does that kind of make sense, to console the guy before this thing happens?
Yeah, it does. I guess you could kind of.
So that's a real point of concern, isn't it? That Eli is crying, that Eli thinks it's over. There's no damage control from the Maras or Eli right now. Read every article on NFL Network. every journalist is saying it's the end, the end, the end, the end. And they could have handled it in a lot different way. Eli could have said, I'm here to help the young kids. I'm going to be ready for next year. I'm going to start. I talked to the owner. I'm really poised, ready to start next year. I don't want to get injured. I'm an older guy. He could have said all that stuff today.
Let me ask you, do you think Eli Manning's self-centered?
No.
No? Okay.
Why?
I just put,
you think he is?
A little bit.
Okay.
I've never liked Eli Manning just from, the whole draft day thing. That really just rubbed me the wrong way. That's
You're
why
gonna have an issue with Carson
Darnold,
Palmer, all right, but Eli Manning, wow.
That's like Sam Darnold is like, that's why he's rubbing me the wrong way, like calling all these shots. Like, dude, you're a rookie. Anyway,
but it's probably just from that. But you have to admit, like, he's treated like the NFL and people with class all the time. If you ask his teammates and everything, like, Eli Manning's nothing but class. Even in the interviews, even with McAdoo and Coughlin, he never gets in the media. He's like the least controversial guy. Like, I really think he's a team guy. I really do, completely. The draft day thing is certainly like a very, very interesting kind of situation. Like that was insane with Archie and Eli. That's a huge thing. Like that's a huge move to say, like, whether you're going to a franchise or not, and Archie had clout and Eli was young and a Corsi, and the whole thing really worked out for the Giants. It was kind of a magical thing that happened. It was bizarre, the whole thing,
Yeah, it just kind of came on to
me. If you
me.
were going to the Dolphins, man, come on. Wouldn't you almost want to pull strings? It's your life. The next 10 years of your life will be ruined.
I could be on an island, with this statement here, but it's like, if a team wants to give me an opportunity to go out and play ball for them and they're going to pay me X amount of dollars and make me their guy, I don't care if it's the Patriots. I don't care if it's the Dolphins. I'm going to suit up for them. I'm going to play. I don't care who it is. If it's a CFL team, I don't care.
But you're going to rally for them, and you'll play the Jets, and you'll just be pumped to play the Jets and beat them.
I'll be like Baker Mayfield.
Man, because this is a show that you don't want to be PC to this show. Like, I want raw. I want all the. Because to tell you the truth, if I was an Eagles quarterback, I never could do it.
Me, I don't know.
By the way, Eagles Giants in the NFC title game, I would get the Eagles there just to throw pick sixes. That's the only thing that you could possibly, like, in my opinion, that you could possibly get on the guy for is the whole, like, switcheroo.
Well, the interceptions.
And I think you don't know Eli that well, like, because you're just viewing him from a national lens or whatnot, or maybe you're a little envious of the Super Bowls, the lucking into stuff. And
yeah, you can make that argument.
Are you a little pissed too how Eli, like, is considered like Hall of Fame, and he kind of like just like had like these two incredible seasons, and then he's been up and down? Because that's what a lot of people are kind of upset about,
Well, I'm not necessarily upset about his Super Bowl championships because he's played great. And, I mean, people can look and they can point to one play like, oh, Eli Manning, he just chucked it up with his eyes closed, whatever. Eli still made the throw. I mean, how about you point to the New England Patriots when you give Brady all this credit about Russell Wilson throwing the pick six on the goal line? Brady gets all the credit. He wasn't even on the field. So I don't necessarily fault Eli or have any bad feelings about the Super Bowl years, the Super Bowl championship years. Yeah. It's just, I feel like Eli Manning can do whatever he wants. He can go out there and throw 0 touchdowns to 40 interceptions, and people will say, 2-time Super Bowl champion, he's fine. He gets a pass, and that's always kind of, I don't know if it's like just because like I feel like you have to pay your dues a little bit, and like just, I don't know if I have like that old school mentality of just like, I
love clinging on to like something that's incredibly important, like, and like the guy's been doing it for so long. And trust me, if I thought Eli was a Tannehill or a Dalton, an Andy Dalton, I wouldn't I would be vouching for him to leave. I'm an all or nothing thinker, man. I think Super Bowl, and I've just seen Eli do it at the biggest level. And this guy's clutch, man. He's a clutch quarterback. He's not a disaster in the regular season. And the one thing about Eli that separates him from Phillip Rivers, actually, like Phillip Rivers, like to put up all these stats and everything. One, Eli's clutcher, and two, he's always had an elite deep ball arm. And he just can scare defenses, and he's always never been afraid to make a big-time throw, like the throw to Manningham, or just – you've seen Eli play in the regular season. When Eli was in his prime, I mean, the guy could certainly go off in games, you know?
Yeah, Eli's for sure. I mean, historically, he's a good quarterback, you know?
Yeah.
He has the Super Bowl champions, whatever, to his name.
Yes.
You can't take that away from him. But what you can do is you can say, look, recently, in these past few years, you turn the ball over at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
I just feel like just since he's got these 2 Super Bowl rings, he could just do whatever he wants, you know? Everyone will just look the other way and just say,
I think he gets criticized a lot, but also you have to look at the situation and, you know, how crappy the offensive line's been. And, you know, I'll admit Eli, of course, can turn it over, and it's hard, you know, because as a Giants fan, I wanted Eli to be the best because I've always looked at him as kind of the sympathetic figure, Ian, where, you know, he's the little brother to Peyton, and everybody toyed with Eli, especially the first couple of years in New York, if you remember the time, if you go back and kind of remember when he played Tom Brady, it was David versus Goliath, and I always think Eli's kind of been this underdog. People tease him because of his sideline, you know, face and whatnot. But I look at Eli, and I can admit that he can't carry a team like a Breeze can, or he can't throw the ball that much.
See, it's funny that you bring that up because
And Dan Marino, like, it's so funny. Like, Dan Marino, like, we look at Troy Aikman and Dan Marino. I was saying this on my video, and Aikman, to me, is very similar kind of to Eli. And same with Terry Bradshaw. Like, those dudes had teams, and those dudes just just conducted the train. You know?
Yeah, played within the offense and just did enough to win the games.
Exactly. And Marino would go out, and Dan Fouts would go out, and those guys would deal, but they don't get the type of respect. They never can win a ring. They never could bring it home. It's all about bringing it home.
In football, I don't necessarily put Super Bowl champions on quarterbacks as you know, rating them like all-time greatness. Like, oh, well, this guy won 5 rings to this guy won 3 rings. The 5 rings is better. You know, football is a team game. You need coaches. You need an offense. You need defense. You need special teams. You need backups. You know, so much goes into winning the Super Bowl. You know, it's a team game. You know, if you have a great team, you don't have to necessarily be a great quarterback. Not saying this has nothing to do with Eli Manning. I'm just, you know, the Brad Johnsons, the Trent Dilfers. You don't have to be a top 5 legend to go out and win a Super Bowl. Again, nothing with Eli Manning. Just wanted to, you know, make that point. But it's funny you bring your viewpoint of Eli up, of how you view him as like the underdog player, the you know, you say
David.
you know, yes, and kind of the world is against Eli.
Yes.
I view him the polar opposite. I view him as like the NFL's golden child, the former NFL first overall pick who basically picked where he wanted to go. He has the legendary last name. He is the dad that will do anything for him. He is the older brother, you know, that's obviously fantastic. Great franchise he gets drafted to in the New York Giants. They know how to develop a quarterback. They know how to put a team around him. They know how to win. He's the golden boy. He can't do anything wrong. That's my take on Eli Manning. The media will never criticize him. But maybe that's just because, like, I'm a Jet fan looking in.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Like, I look at the Jets and I kind of like root for you guys, honestly, because, you know, I kind of want you guys to – I have nothing against you guys, honestly, playing a different conference, and you guys haven't achieved a ton. It's a little frustrating seeing kind of the moves that you guys maybe will make, and you're maybe jealous of the stability. That's the thing about the podcast is we're getting real. I look at Eli, though, and he really struggled going into the league. His whole career has kind of been rocky, man. It's been rocky. The Eagles, you know, torment Eli. He's very quiet by nature. His older brother is much more confident. much more of an extroverted character. And being up here, Eli Manning, I think he was always titled as Peyton's little brother all the time. All the time. Like going into that Super Bowl, they didn't give him any chance. Tiki Barber ripped his leadership. I don't know if you saw that, before the Super Bowl run, but he's always been kind of very quiet, like the quiet little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how I view him. But it's kind of cool that he's like for the Giants, and I kind of like how my franchise, like how the Giants are kind of a blue blood. It's kind of nice, and the Manning name just kind of adds to the allure of Eli and this whole story. So, I like the family.
Yeah.
The Rowe family. He has a lot of friends in the media, but he honestly doesn't say a ton wrong. And I think Dan Graziano and people, I absolutely think that they put a ton on Eli's plate. And that conversation of, is Eli done? It can go. I've seen Ryan Tannehill and other quarterbacks like Andy Dalton. That conversation's never had, and it's annoying. So,
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, as a Jet fan, I am jealous of the stability, with the Giants, and it's like just the ownership as a whole, the ability to manage a team, not just saying blowing draft picks or like dumb free agent signings. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying sustained, everyone in the same building, having the same vision, knowing what the goal is. Whereas I feel with the Jets, it's almost a little sporadic, almost a little short term.
What's funny? What's funny? Like Baltimore or the Bengals would kind of love to be you guys. And there are some off seasons, JC, I'm not going to lie, where like I look at quarterback prospects and it would be fun, to do that whole kind of
this year,
Yeah.
You
know what I'm saying? Y'all have the most entertaining, like,
I get that feeling every year.
It's fantastic, man. Every single draft, you're looking for the one. Like, you're not married to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We've been married for a long time, Giants fans.
I think it's definitely like almost like a culture shock, with the news coming out that Eli's benched. Like, this hasn't happened. It face facts. It hasn't happened. Eli has never been benched before, and I think by it being Geno Smith, I think people are up in arms about it. But I think McAdoo, like we were alluding to before, is like, screw all of you. This is my team. I'm still the head coach. If you want to still keep me around, you could have fired me a couple of weeks ago. You could fire me now.
He doesn't have any recollection for Giants like heritage and how things are done. And
I think he does, but I think he's just doing this like in spite. Like he's just like really just he's being like a child, like just saying.
We're completely bare and insecure, the Giants fans right now, and it's a very scary time, and we don't even know if our owners are really up to par. And I mean, I did, JC, like I know we got great guests on all week. Do you want to bounce to a little college, or do you want to bring something up?
Yeah, let's talk about Tennessee football real quick. Now, I know we dove in depth about them last night, actually. So I want to kind of make this one quick.
Sure.
Because I noticed you had a quick Twitter poll. I don't want to dive into the subject too much because I feel like we'd be almost repeating a lot of the same stuff we said. But you threw up the Twitter poll asking people, whether they would prefer Lane Kiffin in a return to Rocky Top, or would they prefer Mike Gundy. I mean, he's been at Oklahoma State for years. So just kind of touch on that subject. Who do you think is going in a quick little synopsis?
I think that it's going to be this guy, Dave Doran from NC State, who it's so funny. Like, I barely see this guy's face at all. Like, I've never really have known about, like, the coach of NC State. I always know NC State's a decent football program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be an okay hire, but it's going to be a very, wait. And it's going to be a very – it's going to be like such a far-fetched kind of hire from the mainstream that Tennessee fans are not even going to have the intelligence to kind of know about this guy, if that makes sense. There's another guy, Jeff Brom at Purdue. Do you know Brom?
I've known Brom for a really long time. He was at Western Kentucky. Air raid offense. He's going to put up points no matter where he is. He's really energetic and really he gets the guys going. Like, he rallies the troops,
You know that he played in the CFL, Like he played in like
XFL.
this XFL.
I think it was. It
It's
was
like
either
a very
XFL or
violent, like kind of like almost wrestle like WWE football league.
But it's weird because his offense is like really finesse, like a lot of quick passing and a lot of screens and stuff like that. Everything's run out of the gun. Everything's spread out.
Jeff Brom is so intense. Like even the side of his face almost looks like freaking Harvey, Dent. Like his face, like he just is a really, really intense. Like he is the most intense. I'm trying to think of a guy that I can kind of compare him to, like a Jim Schwartz maybe of the NFL. No BS, very intense, loud, passionate. But I'm a little worried about the fit at Tennessee. The guy's just I think he could rub people the wrong way. I'm not saying he's a Shiano. Like the guy has had success, but I think that he could, you have to be a Jeff Brom guy to kind of like Jeff Brom.
For sure, for sure. I would like to play for Brom, but one name I just kind of want to throw in the mix, not just because I'm a Jet fan, but because there's actually rumors out there that have been proven that the Tennessee Vols are interested in Jets D coordinator Casey Rogers, who is a former, Tennessee alum. I know Tennessee kind of wants to get back to that hard style of defense. Me personally as a Jet fan, like I wouldn't necessarily be mad. I would just say, good luck, Casey. Wish you the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I would root for the Vols. But as far as that fit goes, I really don't know because personally, as a fan of the Jets, I almost think that Casey Rogers is almost just like a Todd Bowles clone. Like really not animated on the sidelines. Just he's set in his ways. He likes to go with the older players. He has a system. You fit into it. If you don't, goodbye, kind of thing. So I don't know how the fit would be, and it's always weird seeing from NFL to college. So I just figured I'd throw that name in there.
What's the funny thing about Tennessee, and I kind of like I'm kind of seeing how the fan base is. The fun thing about Tennessee is like now that they use their mulligan on Shiano, like
Mm-hmm.
it's like the boy who cried wolf sort of thing. So the next hire, they're gonna have a very tough time crying wolf again. They're gonna have to first off, they want this hire. If the hire's Mike Gundy, they were validated in the whole witch hunt of Greg Schiano, right? And the next hire, they're going to have to be very well behaved because they avoided Schiano and they put up a stink show.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been seen before. So now they're kind of sitting there and they're going to have to be very well behaved, about the next hire. Like very grateful, very nice. That's why the Mike Gundy thing would be awesome because the national media would be proved wrong. The Vols would be proved correct. I actually am having a little bit of doubts whether it's going to happen, and something could go down even during this podcast. I think the Gundy thing could be great, but Casey Rogers, no. I'm not excited about those names.
The thing is with Mike Gundy, though, is every time you bring up Gundy, the same questions arise. Can he win the big game? You look at the Tennessee football team as a whole, no shot at Tennessee whatsoever. I'm just calling it like I see it.
Mm-hmm.
When, do the Tennessee Vols, do they ever win the big game? So maybe, it's weird in that sense. I'm not saying, if Gundy goes there, they'll never amount to anything or anything like that. I'm just saying, Tennessee, I feel like, is looking for a big leader that has done it before, preferably a younger guy. I don't know if an older guy coming in who's never really been to the promised land, recently, I don't know if that's like the best of fits. I think Gundy will get them back on track to a 9-10 win season, get them ranked in the top 15. But you just can't roll through SEC defenses like you can in the Big 12. You can't just go spread out, we're just going to pass it on you 50 times a game. And SEC defenses are tough, man. Like Georgia, Bama, Auburn, UF. I mean, if Jimbo goes to Texas A&M, who knows? That defense will be playing a lot better.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right about the couple of things with Mike Gundy. But Mike Gundy is solid.
I love Gundy, though.
And the
I really
Tennessee,
like him.
like Butch is kind of like a disaster. it's a safe hire. Like it'd be pretty good. I think Vol fans would be happy. Like the whole thing, it would kind of help. They like all this stress. Like it could be so much worse. Shiana would have literally not won any games. And Tennessee, can they win the big game? They win a couple SEC East games. The Dobbs Hail Mary, the Florida game where they came back. They had like a couple of like fun wins, but heck no, they're always in the 8-win category. And with Mike Gundy, I completely agree with you that it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
He has this Brandon Weeden teams and all these teams, and he barely escapes games and kind of claws his way to like 9-10 wins. But he has no defense, right? And I always remember that Iowa State game where they choked and they had that great opportunity. They even played Stanford in that Fiesta Bowl. Kind of remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Weeden, that was really the team.
Yeah.
With Blackman, with Justin Blackman too. That was a lot of fun.
I think Justin Gilbert was on that team as well, who's a great college player.
Yeah, and but you look at Braum, like these guys are going to be spread guys. I think I think he'll still be okay. Dan Mullen spread. Mike Leach is damn good at what he does. He's a spread. That's why it'd be kind of fun to see what he does. Now, Mike Gundy, personality-wise, I know he does have the mullet, but it's not like a Lane, or it's not even like Dana Holgerson, who's incredible at relating to young kids.
I really like Dana Holgerson.
Dana Holgerson's a cool guy. Mike Gundy, yeah, pretty good guy, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Lane and Dana Holgerson are real personalities.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you. Last quick point I just wanted to throw in regarding the Vols is to be honest with you, I don't even know this guy's name. I'm just basically speculating here on good units in college football. And one guy I think I would take a look at is the defensive coordinator for Boston College. Talk about a unit that is dominant year in, year out for the players that they recruit for, they don't really produce that much NFL talent. Their offense isn't really that good, so they're on the field 24/7. This Boston College defense is top-notch, and I believe can compete year in, year out with the best of the defenses. Football's a team game, like we alluded to before in the Giants conversation, but, so they do have to deal with the 3 and outs constantly of their offense. But at the end of the day, I would take a look at this D coordinator from Boston College, see what he's about, check out his story.
So they play disciplined football then, you're saying?
Big time.
Know what?
Do yourself a favor. After this podcast session, go check out just strictly the numbers of Boston College defensive ranks as far as pass rush, stopping the run, total defense, points allowed, yards allowed, and all that stuff. Go check that stuff out, and I think you'll be impressed.
Yeah, Luke Kuechly went there.
That's right.
Their linebackers are awesome at Boston College. Like, that's the quarterback of the defense. I know that it's like linebacker you. You know what? So, yeah, they play sound, disciplined football. You know who else, by the way, is going to get a coaching job like in the next 3 to 4 years? A guy who you probably love.
Is he at the college level?
Who you'd be amazed is a defensive coordinator at this young of an age.
Who?
Jim Leonard.
Ex-Jet. I love Leonard.
He's the Wisconsin D coordinator, man.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a Wisconsin fan the other day. Shout out to, I believe it's Wisconsin Sports Central. Big Packer fan, Badger fan, and Bucks fan, Milwaukee Bucks. I was talking about Leonard with him the other day in the comment section in one of my videos. He supports my channel. Awesome dude. And we were talking about, the connection of Leonard being a Wisconsin guy and a New York Jet. And he's totally impressed. I love Jim Leonard. I think Wisconsin's defense is great.
Yeah.
Now, I do think they get studs in the building. But, and I do think that their head coach, Coach Paul, he has a lot of say in that. But talk about a great defensive unit, man. Jim Leonard. I love Jim Leonard when he played back with Rex Ryan. He was great. Him and Eric Smith.
He's just so smart.
So good.
So smart. Harrison Smith's kind of like him. He's such a smart guy, Leonard. Very cool. One of the most likable players, honestly.
He could hit too. He could pop people, man. Jim
I,
Leonard,
I got
the
to ask you a
beast.
question about Tennessee, though.
Hmm.
Do you think if Lane Kiffin went back to Tennessee, like after he left for USC at the airport, do you think Lane Kiffin do you think his upside is higher than Mike Gundy? Do you think
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin, like either at Tennessee or anywhere else in the Power Five, do you think this guy could ever be a championship level coach?
as a national champion.
As a conference champion coach, like that as a playoff coach somewhere in the Power Five. Like if he went to Arizona State or something, Lane could have like an 11 to 12 win year and get into a playoff one year.
I think he could be championship level. I think his ceiling, Lane Kiffin's ceiling, is almost like a Jim McElwain as far as playing in like a weaker division, but dominating the weakest division.
Oh.
So technically being in the SEC championship, but at the same time, like everyone knows that UF
No
was just going to
chance.
get wrecked.
Okay. So Mike Gundy totally to you then is like the light years Tennessee higher, like light years ahead of Lane for you, upside wise.
I don't necessarily think it's light years. Like it's not some like we need to get Gundy and we'll settle for Lane. I just think with Lane already being there, I would like Gundy with Tennessee. I really would, but I just feel like the question arises. Gundy, what's his problem at OSU? Is he can't really put it together when he has the teams. He can't win the big game. What's Tennessee's problem in the SEC? They can't knock off the big teams.
I think Tennessee is like literally games away from just getting to that big game, man. So I think that they would take Mike Gundy, but the freaking Jim McElwain, I mean, I'm higher on Lane. I think Lane could be like Gus Malzahn and catch lightning in a bottle some years on offense.
I will say this, though. Anybody's going to be better than Shiano, and anybody's going to be better than Butch Jones. So whatever move that the Vols make, I think they're upgrading. And at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for.
It's crazy. It's gonna be this whole coaching search, man, is unbelievable. But you wanted to go ahead and talk like other coaches, or you want to talk about the playoff a little bit?
Yeah, let's dive into these into the college football playoff. I think it's probably gonna be the last topic for the night.
Mm-hmm.
But top four.
It's great. We even have more topics we haven't touched on. I think the craziest topic, like I know tonight was centered around the Giants because of the news, but we still have to we have to do a serious deep dive on Bryce, and that's a topic we both really like.
Yeah. So people sit tight, hang in there. We'll get to it throughout this week. We'll be posting pods. But
good interviews. We're trying to get great interviews, guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun this week. We're just getting started. So go ahead, JC. Go ahead.
The college football playoff. Obviously, some shocking news. Bama getting knocked off. Miami blowing a game. As Mark Richt, same old story. Oklahoma is in a weird spot. You look at the Big Ten. Definitely a really interesting situation regarding Ohio State. Clay Travis, your guy Clay Travis, actually put on Twitter today that I believe it's Ohio State's AD is in the committee. Like what's going on with that? I mean, I thought I was the only one that thought that, Ohio State gets all like the little, the ball always bounces Ohio State's way. But
yeah,
back to the playoff. Who is the Final Four at the end of the season, Spencer? Let me hear it.
It's funny, man. Like I know you could sometimes be a stingy debater of mine, so I'm gonna go right into this debate. And first off, I could tell you what the committee is, and then I'll tell you what mine's gonna be. So is this what the committee's gonna be? This should be like what we think is gonna happen.
Yeah, do both scenarios.
I'll do both. Okay.
Who do you want to see, and what do you think is gonna happen?
So believe it or not, in college football, like it really isn't like the best team. Like I'm convinced that Penn State and USC were better than Ohio State last year. And certainly USC and Sam Darnold, if they were in, they would have put up more of a fight in the playoff. I personally credit, early games, of course, hurt. And a head-to-head like to Oklahoma, where they beat Ohio State, absolutely should count. That's what makes the thing special is the games are going to count. I look at the Auburn Tigers right now, and they're exhibit A of how you can just like be a completely different team at the end of the year. They went to Clemson, got blown out there. Jarrett Stidham was sacked like 10 times. They were really, really inconsistent and sketchy on offense at some stretches, with Stidham early. The LSU second half was a disaster. They weren't creative at all. But I look at Auburn right now. They beat Georgia and Alabama at home. And I honestly see them losing a heartbreaking game to Georgia. And the games at the Georgia Dome, I feel really bad for Auburn because Auburn's needed this 3-week crazy stretch where UGA kind of just plays Kentucky and Georgia Tech a lot more well-rested. And it's such BS because I think Auburn would beat Oklahoma's doors off. So, I think that Georgia is one. Okay, Georgia's one, and I'm going to get back to you. Georgia's one. Clemson, Miami's actually going to be really close. The fact Miami lost, actually, they get up for big games. That Notre Dame game was freaking shocking. That game is actually really, really going to be tight. Do I have the guts to pick an upset and pick Miami?
Who's it going to be?
Okay, Oklahoma's beating TCU. I'm putting them in. All right, so we got two. We got Georgia and TCU. Or we got Georgia and Oklahoma. I'm going to go Wisconsin. I'm going to surprise you there. I actually like that JT Barrett's playing for Wisconsin. You should too. We don't like Ohio State. JT Barrett ain't scaring you. Dwayne Haskins could come in and be like Cardale, He freaking has a huge arm, no tape on him at all. The Cardale Jones thing's scary as heck, right? JT Barrett's kind of, okay. Wisconsin is so sound on defense. Wisconsin's, I think they're going to win that game. And then I'm going to go Clemson, okay, in a very close game, kind of a heartbreaking game for the Hurricanes. So,
okay.
But what do you think?
Okay, this is what I think is going to happen. I'm going to break this thing down, try to do it quick, try to make it understandable for everyone.
Sure.
The winner of the ACC is in. Clemson, Miami. Who's it going to be? I believe it's going to be Clemson. They're in. I'll rank them. They're going to win by 2.
Like 10 points.
10 points. I think it'll start close, but I think Clemson will pull away in the end.
Sure. Okay.
This isn't in any order too. I'll rank them at the end of the explanation. So, winner of the ACC, I believe it's going to be Clemson. Winner of the SEC, I believe it's going to be Georgia. I think Georgia beats Auburn. I think they're licking their chops to get back at Auburn. I think they're sitting there saying, you thought you were on top of the world when you beat us. Now, in Georgia, we have an opportunity to beat you down for the SEC championship game. I got the Bulldogs. Next, we got the Big 12 championship, Oklahoma, TCU. I got Oklahoma winning this game. I don't see a scenario where Baker Mayfield and these guys come out and they lose this game. They've worked so hard to get to this moment. I think they're going to be prepared. I think they're going to be well coached. I think they're going to be overall ready for, this TCU team. But I do expect TCU to come out swinging. I expect TCU to pull out all the tricks and just have that shock the world mentality. I think TCU, it's going to be tough, but I think Oklahoma barely skimps by. Mm-hmm. And then the final spot, this is where it gets kind of interesting because you look at the Big Ten, you have Wisconsin who's undefeated, and then you have Ohio State. Everyone wants Ohio State to get in. And you look at some of the outside teams that have been on a roll, USC. They've been on a roll. I would have said Notre Dame, but they lost this past Saturday. So I'll just leave it at SC. So you're looking at this Big Ten championship game. If Wisconsin wins, they're in, no questions asked. To go undefeated in a Power 5 conference, I believe, and you get the championship game, I believe you should be in. I think you did enough. So if Wisconsin wins, they're in. If Ohio State wins, I think Alabama should be the fourth team. I think if the committee is deciding between Alabama and, who's the other team that, if they're on the edge about putting Bama in, I think they have to go SC, either SC or Bama. Ohio State, no. You have two bad losses, got dominated against Oklahoma, and you got blown out by Iowa. Two heartbreaking losses. SC, when you look at strength of schedule, you look at the record, SC is better in those categories, or if not tied. Alabama has a better overall record. I think Alabama with Nick Saban, if Wisconsin loses, I would put the Crimson Tide in. But if Wisconsin wins, I'm putting them in. So this is my rankings. Oklahoma 1. They've done too much this season to not be 1 or 2. Technically, they would have beaten TCU twice. They have beaten Oklahoma State, another top 15 team. You look down the list. They just ran a table with West Virginia. The Big 12 is absolutely stacked. Texas Tech is not a slouch team. Overall, this Big 12, it's a gauntlet. They did their thing, beating Texas. Oklahoma, I believe, is 1. They got the Heisman winner. Number 2, I got probably Clemson or the winner of the ACC championship game. So whoever wins, I think it's Clemson. So Oklahoma.
Or actually, you don't have UGA. UGA only lost to Auburn. I would put UGA 1 because Oklahoma's loss to Iowa State is not good.
But who?
UGA avenges the loss.
Okay, fair enough. I do see your point. My argument, if I were to have one, is I believe Clemson has more quality wins than a Georgia. But I guess you do make a great point in saying that Georgia, it's round 2 of a great team going up against Auburn, or Clemson and Miami, they haven't played each other yet. So I like that. I'll go Georgia 2. I'll go Clemson or the winner of the ACC 3. And then I would have Wisconsin or Alabama or maybe slightly USC 4. But
now I have to jump in now when you're ready.
Go for it.
Because I have to present the argument here. I have to step up and challenge you on things that I just don't agree with, about the playoff and everything. And
okay,
I'm gonna really dislike this, but Ohio State, I would vote them in over Alabama and USC.
Why?
Because
why SC? I can understand Alabama, but why SC?
Because USC, they got trounced they lost to Washington State and Notre Dame. The Pac-12, I think, is terrible. I think that it's a down conference. Even Washington is lame. I think Arizona, I know Khalil Tate's a pretty good player, Arizona State. USC doesn't have any, marquee – who are they even going to play in? They're going to play Stanford again in the championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little close, but they got trounced by Notre Dame real bad.
But Ohio State got trounced by Oklahoma real bad.
The Iowa loss was terrible. Of course, we have to say that. But the Michigan State game was – I don't think that there's anybody in the country that can come back and play the way they did against Michigan State. Going to Michigan, I know Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. That's a really tough rivalry game. And then beating Wisconsin, Alabama's sitting at home or USC, beating Wisconsin, that's the best win of the entire weekend. Their resume is just going to be too damn good, and they're playing too well at the end of the year right now. They're looking incredibly impressive. Eye test, the freaking resume is really right on the USC's resume. Alabama doesn't have a resume. If you put Alabama and Ohio State on the same field, Ohio State's winning that game.
I disagree with that statement. I think Bama would take it away.
Bama is really dipping. They almost lost to Mississippi State. That Auburn game, they played really poorly throughout the game. Trust me, I do like Alabama and Nick Saban. But I think you got to go momentum a little bit. I think you can change as you go along. And if Ohio State can beat Wisconsin, Ohio State's going to get in for me.
I think
over SC.
When you look at the numbers, though, as far as strength of schedule, who they've played, numbers-wise, SC wins that category. And if SC's the Pac-12 champion,
they barely escape, though. You watch SC games, they barely get by, if you're watching them. The Utah 2-point conversion, the UCLA game, they're not that impressive looking, unfortunately.
Right, but I will say this. I don't think the committee cares. Florida State, looked the same exact way a few years back. Ohio State, I mean, they skimped by a few opponents, in previous years.
Right.
They did as well.
Well, that's why they're hypocritical, the committee. But who's a better team, USC or Ohio State?
I think the better team's Ohio State.
Right. So what if you were voting, wouldn't you put in Ohio State kind of? Doesn't that have to matter? Even
No,
Penn State, we can admit Penn State got jobbed last year.
we can, but
We can admit that.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you already don't like the committee because Penn State beat them head to head and went this whole Big Ten championship. It's very ironic, isn't it? It's incredibly ironic that this whole thing's happening now with Ohio State.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know. You said it best. It's ironic as hell. I mean, I just don't understand how. I just feel like there's some teams in college football that get favored over others, and it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the strength of schedule. Doesn't matter this or that. When you say Team X and Team Y and Team Z, and you don't even say what team they are, USC has a harder schedule. They have the same record. They basically win out in every category versus Ohio State. Everything that the committee should be looking at. But as soon as you say, oh, this is Ohio State and this is USC, the tide all of a sudden turns to, we got to get the Buckeyes in because, they got Urban Meyer and they get tons of good recruits and whatever they pump out NFL.
Well, the Cardell Jones thing was a big deal. That whole, because remember they beat Wisconsin that year and then they snuck in, but then they beat Bama and Oregon to win. That's a huge deal for the committee,
But that's 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that factors in, they the committee wants to be correct and like that honestly does factor into the decision making, but also, I mean, the way they beat Michigan State, they style point the heck out of teams.
But
that's
Michigan
Ohio
State's not even a top 10 team.
They style point, and USC, unfortunately, man, we can call it how it is, man, and it's not right sometimes. I mean, I think Ohio State's a better football team. I'm firm to that. I think the Michigan State beatdown was impressive. The Penn State comeback was really impressive. So I understand how Ohio State's biased, and the Pac-12 games go on in 11. And that's a really, that's always been a problem for the Pac-12.
Thing is that it's like I believe that Ohio State is better than SC. I do believe that.
Yeah, and the Bama Ohio State would be a dogfight. But yeah, go ahead.
But do I think Ohio State should get in over SC just because I think they're better? No. I think SC has done more given what they, who they played, when they've had to play. I don't think it should come down to
SC's kind of skating by. I do.
I agree. But at the end of the day, they've played a harder schedule than Ohio State. They're finishing off with the same record. But I mean, this argument could be
very close. I don't think the schedules are that different. I think Ohio State's schedule's hard.
I'll find a picture or something on the internet after the pod. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Blind resume style, and you have to tell me what team you think without knowing Buckeyes or Trojans or Bama, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Alabama has more of an argument, actually, because their one loss to Auburn is a great loss. So,
I'll tell you what, if Auburn beats Georgia, that helps Bama. Mm-hmm. Because Auburn would have to be ranked 1. And if Bama, you're sitting there saying, okay, you have Nick Saban, if they're going off of what you're saying, in recent years, they made it every single year. They have Nick Saban. Their only losses to the best team in college football. And it is what it is. And their loss was away. And it's obviously it's a rival game. So
a lot of people agree with you, but I still agree with Ohio State. I would put Ohio State in over Bama and USC. I know Bama only has one loss, but the SEC is so down and they're just playing so poorly right now. They're not the same team in the middle of the year, and they style pointed the heck out of some of their wins in the middle of the season. And I'm not confident in JT Barrett, I'll tell you that, at the quarterback position. So this is going to be a very interesting Big Ten championship, though.
I'll tell you what.
And everything kind of sorts itself out. So TCU, by the way, incredibly unnecessary. It's so funny the Big 12 finally puts in their championship, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's incredibly disruptive to Oklahoma now. It, doesn't do them any favors. So it's like, it's like the Big 12, man. They can't seem to get it right.
I was gonna say that the if TCU beats Oklahoma, that's gonna be throwing a wrench in everybody's plans. So I'll leave it at that.
They have a defense. It's in Dallas. It's a tough spot, man. But I trust Baker Mayfield too. I mean, the way he came out against, he's a guy on a mission, like he's just such a powerful player, that you just got to give him that respect, That Orange Bowl was really frustrating a couple of years ago with Baker when he went up against Clemson and just seemed like he was outmanned. The Clemson Tigers have so much swag, and like, if they can almost win another national championship this year, which is just amazing to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think that does it for the Mecca podcast. It was a lot of fun, man, and get some rest because we even got more stuff to do tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
Bart Scott.